Hi everybody, welcome to People's Podcast. I'm Mona with you. Today's episode is going to be about teaching and it's going to be dedicated to anybody who's considering teaching as profession, any new teacher or anybody who's been teaching for the past years and needs just a refreshment. Please stay tuned and hope you enjoy it. Before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience. So, my name is Mona and I'm from Tunisia. I've been teaching for the past 3 years, online and face to face. I've got the chance to teach in Tunisia and also Turkey. And throughout the years, I came to learn a lot of stuff about teaching that somehow no one really prepared me to. And so, today I'm going to talk about all this stuff. I really hope you enjoy them. There are some key points that we are supposed to consider whenever we start a new job, whether in teaching or anything. And so if you think about it, most of the stuff that we're going to talk about can be also related to other sectors. So number one, comparing. You know that the thing when we start a new job, our very first profession ever tends to be the hardest ever, because you know that moment when you're no longer a student and you're kind of a young adult who needs to take care of all the expenses and everything by yourself, and sometimes things start getting overwhelming. And the main trap that we fall into, which is comparing. You know, as a teacher, for example, I remember when I first started, I was feeling so overwhelmed. I was comparing myself to all the teachers that I've had, all the teachers that have been teaching like with me in the same school, and I was somehow getting so stressed about that, because to be honest, the toughest ones ever were the first period, the first month or the first week, let's say. They were really the toughest. I remember my very first time ever getting into the classroom. No matter how much I prepared myself for that moment, really no one prepared me to that feeling when you really feel terrified. I didn't know that having a classroom full of kids can be that much of terrifying. I didn't know that I needed to be strong enough not to show my fear, although I had a lot of fear inside. I was like shaking somehow. I'm so grateful that none of them really realized that, because they were in 6th grade, I think. I was trying to pretend to be strong enough to show that I'm confident and everything, although deep inside I was not. And now if I think about it, it was really terrifying, the most terrifying moment ever. And somehow the kids freaked me out. But at that moment I had the chance to give up, but I could not. I realized that you don't have to have it all at a time. Just to pretend it, like fake the fact that you're confident enough that you know it all, let's say. Still talking in the context of the lesson, by the way. Fake it until you be it. They say fake it until you make it, but I could say also fake it until you be it, because at some point or another you'll start believing in that too, and you start being it, because basically, as I said, the hardest moments are the first ones. So what really hurts me the most is the fact that we tend to compare ourselves to others. We compare ourselves to the people who've been teaching for the past 10 years, and we say that when we see the way they teach, their relationship with the students, we feel kind of intimidated. We say like, we're not worthy enough of that profession, or maybe we're not doing our best, or we're not supposed to be doing that profession. But the thing is, that person who's been teaching for the past 10 years was in your shoe before, and he wasn't like that at all. The hardest moments, these kind of hardships, the bad moments, the stress, these years forced that person to be that person. No one of us was born know-it-all. No one of us was born to be like a natural teacher. We cannot be that. The thing about that, about the fact that we're not born knowing everything, but we somehow learn things by doing them. And most of us, actually all of us, we learn things by doing most of the time. And so basically, the more you teach, the more you get into it, the more you kind of discover new things, new ways to do things. And so again, don't fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others, because you're not them. And maybe somehow you will learn how to do things in your own way, and you'll be so surprised about the things, how things turned out, And so please, I know it's not easy to stop doing that. It's not as if it's like a button you need to press on and boom, it stops. But somehow we learn how to do that. And being self-aware of that. So comparing ourselves can be really hard from ourselves, as if we're not really giving enough credits to ourselves about the strength we've got within, and as if we're like pulling ourselves back, Instead of going forward, we're going backwards, because we're putting the bumps on our own way by using that kind of language in our mind. Oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing the job enough, or I wish I was her. I wish I were I was good enough like her. You will be your own way of good, So whenever you come into that classroom, I remember when I was teaching, our safe zone was the teacher's room. In the teacher's room, we take off the teacher blouse. When I say blouse, I mean like the teacher disguise, and just be us. And that's when you can feel terrified or everything. And that's our safe place. But the thing is, the classroom can be somehow your safe place if you just put out with it. If you know how to deal with it, you will get the hang of it somehow. But let's say, as I said, try not to compare yourself a lot to others, because you're you can do things your own way, and somehow day by day you'll be learning new things of how to do things differently, and you'll be so impressed by that. Back to my first experience ever, I realized at some point that in a classroom, not everybody will be interested about the subject you're teaching. There will be kind of levels of students. When I say level, I'm not talking about the language level, I'm talking about the interest level. There will be at the top, which are basically our favorite, the ones who are interested in the lesson, who love the subject, who actually push you a lot to do your best just for them, and not give up on the teaching, just to give them the best you could. And these kind of students that I really want to take a moment just to be grateful for the students that I've got, the ones who kept pushing me without even knowing, and the ones that made me learn a lot of things from them. Especially my very jealous student ever. I wanted to thank you for being you, and thank you for making me love teaching. Somehow you did. I've never told her that, but hope you watch it, and I wanted to tell you that I'm so grateful that I had you as my very first students ever, and you are somehow one of the reasons why I stayed as a teacher. So basically I wanted to say that there are some levels of students. So as I said, the ones that love the language a lot and keep making you love teaching. The other ones who have some little interest in the language, but sometimes they tire you a lot by being playful or something. And there are at the bottom the ones who don't give any interest in the teaching. And these ones are the hardest, actually. These ones are going to make the classroom the toughest one. But by the time you'll understand each student, and you'll understand that we don't know everything about the student, and so by the time you get to know the student and you get to know you as a teacher, that's when you start things start changing, and you start developing ways to deal with these situations. So what I wanted to say, don't let these kind of students make you question your worth and make you give up or something. Just keep going eventually. And remember that in every classroom, there are ones who look up to you and feel so proud of being in your classroom. Maybe at some point or another, you helped the student without even knowing. And so another point that I wanted to consider is the fact that you just need to be kind to the students. Like kind words, just be having a smiley face. We cannot have a smiley face all the time, but we try to do that for the students. I don't know that if students really know all these kind of stuff, because at some point or another I realized that these things I've never really considered them before when I was a student until I became a teacher. That started making sense. And so I was grateful for all the teachers I've got and all the things that I've learned from them. And I've kind of realized that it's not really to be a teacher, but it's not hard as well. Again, once you get the hang of it, you'll get it. Another thing, the first period, like let's call it first month, first week, or first 6 months, or first year. Let's call it adaptability period. The adaptability period is that when like the kind of switch from student to a teacher, and that's when you start getting to know the system, getting to know yourself as a teacher, getting to know yourself as a person in that job, and that's when you learn a lot of things. We don't have to know everything all the time, but we come to learn them from all the mistakes we gather, all accumulated mistakes that we make. We learn how to make things differently. And so basically, you'll be doing a lot of mistakes that I'm encouraging you to do. Keep doing them, because through these kind of mistakes that you make during the classroom, that's how you learn to do things differently. And so I meant to say that in these periods, you're going to get to know yourself as a person as well. And so basically, don't be harsh on yourself in that adaptability period, because adapting can be so hard. Whether moving to another country, whether moving to a different city, or just getting to a new job, adapting can be the toughest period ever. And that's the period when we're the most hard on ourselves. And that's where the period when we need to be easy on ourselves, and we need to remember that it's just the beginning and we're getting to know the atmosphere. We don't even know our colleagues. We don't know the people around us. We don't know a lot our students. And so basically we're just getting to know them. And you cannot really judge yourself when you get to know a person, because getting to know takes some time, and give yourself some time in order to get the hang of it. I kept repeating the word get the hang of it a lot, because it's really so important. Another thing that in order to not make the video very long, the last thing that I would like to talk about is criticism. When we start a job for the first time, we get to take criticism personally. And when I say criticism, is the points or the tips or the comments that we get from our supervisors or our fellow teachers as well, if we're in a teaching position. In a company, there are also our colleagues who would be giving us comments. Some people take them really personally in a way that, as if when I tell you something was wrong in that thing that you did at work, you think as something wrong with you, but that's not the thing actually. When I say something wrong with the thing that you did, I'm just expecting you, let's say as a supervisor, I'm expecting you to do things differently, or maybe don't really be sad about that. And so Start taking criticism positively, because if you think about it, in a work situation, any comments we get are supposed to help us do things better. And so when a person criticizes anything, or you can even criticize your own classroom yourself, but not for the sake of putting yourself down, no, for the sake of trying to come up with the new ways to improve. Okay, so when you start taking them, that's when you start really improving radically somehow. So please listen to any criticism and be open to criticism. Don't be that close-minded that doesn't really accept like opposite opinion, you know. Being open makes you open to new ideas, because I don't know, I can like your colleague can come up can have like his or her own way of dealing with the classroom that you could also implement in your own classroom as well. Or maybe they have a tiny tip or trick that they do. This is what basically all the teachers do. We kind of share our tips and tricks in order just to learn from each other, you know. So you can listen to this, be careful, be mindful about these kind of stuff, because these tiny weeny things really help you a lot throughout your career, throughout your profession, whether in teaching or anything. Thank you so much for staying until the end of this episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and please let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. If you need any part 2 or any other topic you want me to discuss in the upcoming episodes, please let me know. I'll be so glad to do that. See you until next time. Until then, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with anybody you think who really needs to hear this.